Hey everyone, welcome to the Tech and Real Estate Podcast, where we bridge the gap between real estate and technology. I'm your host, Ariel Herrera, and today we have our special guest, Daniel Parzivand. He is the CCO of Renttastic. Renttastic is a dedicated accounting software designed for real estate investors that helps to not only gather rents automatically, but a plethora of other tools as well. Can't wait to dive into this, and welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hi, Ariel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I would love to start off first just hearing a little bit about your background. Were you always into real estate? Were you always into technology? How did you end up here today?
That's a good question. Interestingly enough, I wasn't. I wasn't into real estate, and I wasn't into technology in the sense that software. I was more into hardware, and growing up, built my own computers, all that fun tech stuff. But interestingly enough, I was a student studying biology, and then I bridged the gap, studied a little bit of engineering because I wanted to go into biomechanical engineering. And next thing I'm brought into this venture of set schedule, and little by little, I got more and more involved. Started, scheduling appointments for the CEO and COO to go out, and became first inside sales rep management, and worked my way up. And now I'm the chief client officer of Set Schedule. And Set Schedule is a technology-based company that creates business development tools for real estate professionals. And Renttastic is a new product we recently acquired at the beginning of the year, and it's been a phenomenal SaaS product, which has helped us really drive a tremendous amount of real estate investors and property managers and accounting software to simplify the way that they manage their accounting income and expenses. So, yeah, quick little history of who I am and kind of how I got into this.
Excellent. I love how you worked your way up the ranks to where you are today, and would love to dive into the other products that the company offers. But now focusing on Rentastic, what is it exactly? Who is it geared towards? And what does it do differently today than maybe competitors in the market?
Great question. So Rentastic is really geared towards the accounting side of the real estate investing. I guess the complexity that you want to take it as far as the entire ecosystem goes. We're looking to simplify the income and expenses for any real estate investor, anyone from 2 to 100 investments, and we're going to start work our way into property management as well to kind of help them. But for now, as an accounting software, we're here to simplify the income and expenses. So it's as simple as, adding properties, adding your bank accounts, through automation, creating rules that will automate the categorization of your income and expenses. So if you're collecting mortgage versus, paying out mortgage. And what it does is it allows you as a user to simplify the reporting aspect when it comes to filing your taxes, right? I mean, at the end of the day, or I should say, really at the end of the year, everybody has to start to put their taxes together. So Rentastic comes in by providing very easy reporting so that when you file your taxes and you provide it to your accountant, they have all of your income expenses, all the expenses broken down so they can, work the tax filing side of it.
Makes sense, simplifying the process.
Yeah.
So what would you say to an investor who's like, well, why don't I just keep everything in spreadsheets, for example, and try to manage it myself? What do you see as some shortcomings of that?
That's probably our number one user base. Our users who have either are coming from a Google Sheets or Microsoft Docs, and what they're doing is, yes, you can use that, but one, it's not scalable. If you plan on as being a real estate investor, I mean, one property is not going to be enough, right? And as you start to scale your business, now creating multiple spreadsheets for multiple properties and having to manage all of the incomes and expenses from your bank accounts, and now you have credit cards because now you have to go to Home Depot and you have to, right? It becomes a little bit messy. So what I say to people who are currently using spreadsheets, you're normally using spreadsheets if you have one or maybe two properties. At Rentastic, as a free user, you have the ability to add up to two properties. So it's very user friendly and efficient for someone who's just getting into the business. You come in, your income and expenses, you're not going to miss anything. You go to Home Depot, you accidentally forget, you ran back to buy screws that you forgot that that you needed, and now you forgot to load that receipt, and now you're $10 down on your expenses, where not a whole lot, big deal, $10, but as you start to miss, it adds up. So there's no scalability when it comes to Google Sheets. There's also, it becomes very difficult to create automations, right? You're kind of fitting a square peg into a circle hole where sure, you can make, the sheets work for you, but why not use an accounting software that's made specifically for investors who it comes with all the bolts and nuts and features such as automation tools that allow you to classify your income and expenses, as well as having, additional tools where we offer, rent estimator, we offer deal analyzers, we offer mortgage calculators and all as well. So we've created a simplified version of QuickBooks for the real estate investors who are looking for something super easy, super friendly, and the least barrier of entry when it comes to the difficulty of using the platform.
I love that reference, the QuickBooks of real estate. And I could say from my journey of first starting, I had 1-2 properties. I was like, I could maintain this in spreadsheets. Oh, but as started to scale, realized this was becoming so burdensome at tax season, spending weekends just trying to compile everything and knowing that I was missing something in the process. So I bet a lot of the investors that come to you face the same difficulties.
So the one thing I always looked at was my mom. Growing up, my mom is a real estate investor. She had about 5 or 6 different properties, and I just remember the difficulty that she had to go through when it came to it. And the thing is she files her own taxes, so she's her own accountant, and she's a superwoman. And the things that she does is outside of the ordinary of your everyday person. When I introduced her to Renttastic and that helped her out, that's when I knew that we had a winner as far as a product goes.
That's excellent that she ended up migrating to it. Also, kudos to her for actually filing her own taxes and doing the whole process.
She's one of those wonkies. If she could go without buying or selling to a real estate agent, she'd do it herself too. But there's a little bit of a barrier there.
I bet. So you recognize that there's this fault within the real estate accounting space, solve it with the software that you have created, alongside bringing in automations to make it a lot more simplified for the everyday real estate investor. And then you start to build out these other products that investors could use as well. So what sparked that? Was it just listening to what others were saying and what they needed? Or how did you start to choose Renttastic and the other products as well?
Well, we started, I'll give you a little bit of background with SetSchedule. We started as a tech company that created what we call the referral radar. So the referral radar is an agnostic marketplace where we aggregate leads from different lead vendors, home buyers, sellers, renters. That was our initial product. And what that allowed us to do was to understand the difficulties and the need for so many more business tools for real estate agents. And then we created a networking platform for real estate agents, and real estate professionals started to join. So we had investors who came and were connecting with agents, contractors, developers, right? There's this whole network of real estate professionals that we created. So we talked about Renttastic being the QuickBooks for real estate real estate investors. SetSchedule is the networking platform for real estate professionals. And that led us to start to connect with real estate investors who, little by little, we would get feedback on, well, this is one of the difficulties that we face as an investor is either you've got something like QuickBooks, which is really expensive and really difficult to use, but it has all the features that we need, or I'm using Spreadsheets, or I'm using another product that, is not as well tuned into our needs. So we got the feedback. We came across Renttastic, and we actually acquired it from Bryce Matheson, who is phenomenal. I mean, he really built a product for himself, actually. And he started Renttastic because he had this exact issue, was none of the softwares out there were relevant to what he wanted. And he built Renttastic, and he just got to a point where it got larger, and then he wanted it to sustain it. So we obviously acquired it from him. And as a tech company and having the full, spectrum of an entire development team, we started to get feedback from users. What do you want? What's working? What's not working? And a lot of the feedback that we got were things as simple as, hey, I want to have an integration with, these banks, or, hey, I want to be able to understand the value of my property and could analyze deals. And little by little, we started to get that kind of feedback, which led us to start to now we're working on actually having rent collection coming from Renttastic in Q1, where as a user, you'll be able to collect rent through Renttastic directly. Also working with vendors, sending out documents, getting documents signed, being able to find or actually being able to finance your future investment properties through Renttastic as well.
Wow.
So all of these ideas came to us. And obviously, we sit there and we prioritize the different features and feature requests and our own features. And little by little, we start to put the resources that we need. And we're now working on, like I said, the next big update is going to be rent collection through the Renttastic platform. And then you've got your not your mortgage, sorry, your project managers who are managing the investments for property managers, right? They have their own software, but that software doesn't have accounting. So we're going to create API anyway. So there's a lot we can go over, but in short, Ariel, the feedback really comes from our users and what they want and what they like and what they don't like, which allows us to really customize the platform for the investors that are using the platform.
Yeah, and it seems like the cohesive statement for investors is we use so many different applications every day to do different components within managing our real estate property, for example. And we just want to have an all-in-one if possible.
Yeah, exactly. And that will ultimately be the goal. I mean, obviously, our sole focus will be the accounting side of things. And once we perfect that, we'll talk about, venturing into, again, becoming maybe a property management company. But for now, we really want to perfect the accounting side of things.
Excellent. I thought that Renttastic, when I tried out the free tool, the version that you have, how fast it was really surprised me. How quick I was able to enter a property and get comps right away.
And that's the goal. Again, we talk about the different other companies that are in this industry, and for us, we just want it to be super easy. I mean, someone who has no experience with tech as a first-time investor can come pick the platform up, start with a free account, and just create a very comprehensive accounting sheets ecosystem for themselves. And that's what we're going to always keep it that way. We're always excited whenever we get feedback from people who've used other softwares that come to ours and say, just the user interface is the reason that I've decided to stay with to pick you guys up. It's just so easy to use.
Yeah. And what about for the end of tax season for your accounting part? Do you have any tax advisors that you recommend?
So that I think will be part of when we start to get into the latter end of the next year of 2024, maybe the third quarter, where we create a forum kind of concept where you can connect with different professionals. Right now, if you need that, I always say when we have users who go, I'm great, I have the reporting. How do I start to find an accountant? Especially because if you're starting with your own Google Sheets, you're probably also doing your own accounting to some extent. That's where we turn around and say, join the SetSchedule platform and actually find an accountant, because that's what SetSchedule does. It's as a networking platform for real estate professionals. You will find accountants there. So no, not currently. Something we'll work on, in 2024. But because we have that ancillary side of it with SetSchedule, there is that synergy that we always bring. So, same thing with, hey, I'm looking for a real estate agent. Do you have a real estate agent you can connect me with? Yes, SetSchedule. I'm looking for a mortgage broker. Do you have someone that you can connect me with? Yes, SetSchedule.
Got it. And can you explain a little bit more SetSchedule? So say if I was going to the site, is it like going to a directory and selecting my city and then finding the professional? Or how does that work?
You can think of it as like LinkedIn, but on steroids for the real estate industry. So you create your profile. It's a public profile, which also, it's you'll find your profile on Google and Bing and Yahoo and all that. It is indexed on those pages. But in short, the point of the SetSchedule platform is to create a profile and start to connect with other real estate professionals that can help you advance and grow your business.
Great. So you could directly message these individuals and then set up time to meet later.
You can ask questions. So let's say you're asking a question within a specific city or in the entire US, hey, looking for a, better rate than the 8% or whatever it is nowadays, 6.5 or 5% that you're getting. Can anybody match that? And you'll get people who will respond to you. You'll also find, other real mortgage officers or loan officers who are marketing themselves and promoting themselves on the platform that you can connect with and start to communicate with them. So, it's very similar to LinkedIn. It's very, intuitive. And once you create your account, and by the way, yes, it's absolutely free. There's no charge, and you will never be charged for anything on the SetSchedule platform when it comes to, connecting with people. And it's it's there. It's a tool for real estate professionals to just grow and find other connections that allows them to grow their book of pipeline of business and connections of other professionals that they helps them grow their business.
Yeah, it's one of the key aspects of real estate in general, just making sure you're consistently networking, growing that
Absolutely.
network, becoming more informative. And it's great that you have a platform that's able to connect those together.
Yeah, that's where it all stemmed from. Set Schedule is kind of the mama bear of all the other tools and ideas that we came up with. So
Yeah. So, how is it creating a platform basically that is able to branch off into different areas? Like taking us back, maybe just looking at it as a tech company.
mhm.
What does that look like in terms of bringing people on, hiring the right folks, strategizing what to do next? Like, what are some maybe challenges that you've maybe faced as a team in the past? How did you overcome that? You could explain that a bit more.
Communication is the first thing that comes to mind, Ariel. I mean, with all the different ideas that the team comes up with, and we kind of in our scrum meetings sit down and go over. Communication is key. Communicating all of the different ideas, communicating prioritization, and that I think has been one of the most impactful business development implementations is having a priority list with the development team, because it's just so much is thrown at them in such a short period of time that it requires them to really have every piece of idea not only blanketed out, but in our sprints, but more importantly, being able to have a sheet that anybody can reference and leave notes
Mm-hmm.
on to allow the team to be able to communicate. I mean, everybody wants to give their ideas and everybody has an idea about somebody else's idea, right? And it can become overwhelming. So we've really learned to create a system that allows us to filter all the notes and the feedback, and you have one person who's required, or their specialty is to kind of sift through all the notes and find the relevant notes and kind of work that up the hierarchy of the development team until it meets the developers and your product and project managers. And we've gone through a lot of renditions of systems that we've used, but at the end of it, for us, it's just having one person at the helm that makes the final
Mm-hmm.
decision when it comes to, hey, here's what the sprint's going to look like. Here's how long it's going to take based off the expected estimates that we receive, and here's how we're going to move over the course of the next 3 months on our product roadmap. Right, things move, but it's so important that we communicate the changes in the roadmap whenever they have been worked. So we've probably spent the last 6 months really just working on the communication between development, media, marketing, sales teams, all the support teams, and all of the new documentation that they've put into place around the new updates, the feature updates, and having the ability to have a good product spec for, let's say, the support pages, right? Because on every single update, support.rentastic.io has to be updated on any of the new feature updates. So communication is probably your best friend, and also could be your worst enemy if it's not spelled out correctly.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. Communication is huge. Like you said, you could have all these ideas, but end of day, there's only so much time, so much work that development team can handle, and being able to rightly prioritize that is great. And you could use softwares like Asana, Notion, Monday to help
But yeah, I think we use
tracking
Jira
certain processes.
ourselves. Yeah,
Jira,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and as far as it goes, Hoshin planning is really how we set up our who's required and responsible for what. I'm not super familiar with it, and I know I sat in a couple of the Scrum meetings, so I've overheard a couple of things. But the development team is they are the backbone of everything. What the company is built off of. So it's super important that they're all on the same page.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that you have that type of structure for the company. And as someone is considering to use an accounting software, maybe migrate from 50 unit spreadsheet that they usually try to maintain, or even just a newbie trying to get started, what are some of the steps that they would take to onboard? And is there any like tutorials or help that can assist them in that process?
Yeah, so we offer a free bookkeeping integration meeting. So basically, what we do is we come in, we get to understand your business, what properties you have. We actually help you implement Renttastic with your properties, and then we help you set up your automation for the classification rules if you've upgraded to a premium
Nice.
subscription. So between the support team, Rika, Jomar, myself, and Carlo. We're all there to kind of help someone who is anywhere from even two properties to, again, we've recently had someone who had about 50 properties, and interestingly enough, we just got out of a Renttastic ticket meeting where over the weekend we had someone with 90 different units
Wow.
come to us and say, "Hey, I'm looking for an accounting software." And we've gotten very good at this bookkeeping meeting. It allows you to really understand how simple the platform is, because people come in and they want to complicate it. Oh, well, what do I do by my properties? First off, start with creating your account, add your properties, attach any bank accounts that you want in order for you to have your income and expenses come through. And then as simple as go to the classification page and start to classify the rules, right? Or
Mhm.
start to classify your expenses and incomes. And then as you start to build and understand, well, I know that every month on the first of this month, my mortgage for 123, buy my property street, or, is going to come through. We'll start to create those classification rules so that those start
Nice.
to get automated. So you don't have to sit there every single month and update those or create them, right? The system can start to automate all of those for you. And we've got people who are as complex as having hundreds of classification rules, because, on 90 properties, everybody has a mortgage, everybody has their rent, everybody has
Yeah.
their water payments and their utilities, right? Those are all going to be things that you're going to pay or going to come in every month. Set those up, make it easy for yourself so that, you only have to do your one-offs.
Hmm. Love that. And actually taking a step back for someone who may be a little bit newer into the space and they're thinking, well, what's the point of even tracking all my expenses? How does that help me tax wise? Could you explain a bit more on that?
Absolutely. So the biggest benefit is when it comes to your property management, you have tax write-offs, right? That's going to be
Yeah.
one. Well, let me actually go back. Well, the number one is going to be your ROI, right? Is this property profitable? Am I actually making money off of this property, right? And that's one thing that we've come to realize. Not as many investors who are within that like 3 to 6 or 7 range, or maybe 3 to 5 range, understand. With one or two properties, it's super easy because you're managing it yourself, right? But once you start to get upwards of 3 to 4, 5, maybe even 6, where you still are trying to manage it on your own, that's where things get a little bit complicated. So one is, am I profitable on that property? And two is, am I taking advantage of all the tax write-offs and tax benefits that I can? Right. If you don't have an accounting software, you don't know, because you are hoping that you've done everything correctly, right? Especially if you're doing your own taxes. Now, if you have an accountant, the other conversation is, well, they know the tax benefits that they can write off, but do they have all of the numbers and figures correctly written out?
Right.
With an accounting software, where we set it up, is you have your P&Ls, you have your profit and losses, you have all of your individualized accounting expenses for each individual property, as well as your portfolio in a whole, which allows your accountant to be able to look through all of the income and expenses, itemized, and determine which time, which strategy are they going to use to provide you with the best possible tax write-off they possibly can. Those are two. And then the third one starts to become, when do I know I want to start to look at my next property?
Hmm.
Right? Do I know if I haven't, am I looking for a specific income coming in per month, or am I looking at, what's the strategy for me to identify when I want to find my next property? And that's something that we come to realize a lot of the newer investors don't realize. Hey, I've got $3,000 of income coming in a month now. It's time for me to start to look at possibly buying another property, right?
Yeah.
And scaling and leveraging my other ones. Or heck, I've got $500,000 of equity in this property that I didn't realize I have now because the property increased a little bit here and I've been paying it off. Let me leverage that by refinancing that to have the down payment for the next investment property. So there's a lot of different reasons. Just to spell out, three of a couple of more I'm sure I could sit down and think of, but off the top of my head, those are probably the three most impactful, outside of just the, hey, I need an accounting software to make sure I'm running my taxes correctly at the end of the year.
Yes, I love these nuggets of wisdom, each of them being so true and to help with that real estate journey. And for that latter piece that you mentioned on, hey, did my property maybe appreciate and can I leverage a loan for my property? Does that mean that you're pulling in like property estimates as well?
So we do have a property estimate tool, and the beauty
Nice.
about it is it allows you to start to when you get into the hey, I'm ready to find another property. Obviously, the number one question is always going to be, ours is my rent. The rent that I'm going to collect, is that going to, at the minimum, cover the mortgage cost that I'm going to have, right? And if the answer is yes, then more than likely it's a good decision because of the appreciation of prices going up in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. You know that you're going to make a good decision. The estimate is there along with the deal analyzer that we offer to help you get a generalized idea of if the area that you're looking into is a good profitable location for investing in. We offer those tools, and they're there, and it's something that as we start to grow, we're going to start to create little nugget, like you said, little nuggets of advice is what we're going to call it, but
Yeah.
basically help users find those areas, and based off where they're currently invested, heck, maybe we create, and we've talked about it, create integrations and API with the MLS so that you can find properties that are currently listed that might be good possible investments to make. And that's stuff that, again, coming in quarter, probably towards the end of 2024, which is not on the roadmap yet, which is why I can't necessarily give an estimate on when it'll come out. But those are the things that are being more advanced when it comes to tools that we'll offer around business development after we've perfected the accounting side of things.
Great. And in terms of being able to help with like the deal analysis piece today, is that mostly for single family, small multifamily, large multifamily, what have
It's
you?
for everything. So we have an API currently that's a third party vendor till we create our own APIs, which is something that we're always going to do. But it's a third party vendor that gives you the estimate of the so what you would basically do is you'd find a property that you're interested in, take that, throw it into the mortgage calculator, determine the cost, right, of what your mortgage will be, monthly cost, taxes, and all that, then throw it into the rent estimator, take both that information and throw it into deal analyzer, all on the Renttastic platform. And what that will do is it'll give you cap rates, your ROI, your nets, and all of it for you to determine whether that the property, based on the, again, estimate of the rental cost, whether it's even should be in the conversation for you. Because a lot of the times you'll plug in the information and realize, no, it's just not a good decision. No matter how I play with the numbers, I'm just not going to be able to collect enough rent
Mhm.
to cover the mortgage. So go find another area that might be a better fit.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome that one, you're able to leverage the outside API to have not just single family, but other types of
Yep,
properties.
duplexes, triplexes, anything that the system generally,
Yeah.
other than apartment complex, which becomes a little bit more
Hmm.
complicated, because at that point, it's how many apartments doesn't necessarily know yet. But the deal analyzer will allow you to still analyze the deal based on the number of units. You just won't necessarily be able to use the estimate finder. But hopefully
Got
at
it.
that point, if you're looking at 10, 15, 20 plus units, you already have an understanding of how much mortgage you can already collect, or
That's
excuse me, how much
true.
rent you can already collect.
And in terms of markets, do you focus on particular markets or nationwide? How does that work?
Great question. We're nationwide. We work within US, Canada, and the data, to be quite blunt, is probably, I know it's not probably, it's better when it comes to any metro areas. So the more data that the system can pull in as far as rental properties, current properties listed, the better. So places like New York or Los Angeles or Miami, the metro areas, the estimates are a little bit better,
Hmm.
and better tuned in with the actual market than a not so densely populated area where you only might have a handful of properties up for rent at any given time.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges for those who say look to invest in Airbnbs and like satellite remote areas. It could be a little bit more difficult getting those exact estimates, but that's its own challenge.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different tools out there that you can utilize. I mean, obviously Zillow is always a really good tool just to see what properties are currently listed as far as rental prices. The downside to that is, you're dealing with the objective, number of what someone usually wants to get rather than what maybe the value of the property is worth. But nevertheless, again, it's these tools are here to just give you a little bit of a clearer understanding of in which direction to use, right? At the end of the day, as an investor, you got to sit down and make sure you are running your caps and making sure you're running your NOI so that you are making the right decisions.
Agreed. So what would be the next step for someone who wants to check out more about your platform, possibly onboard? How would they sign up or learn more?
www.rentastic.io, Rentastic, rentastic.io. There's the sign up button on the top right hand of the screen. You click that button, and that will allow you to create your account. Again, it's totally free to create your account. It's totally free to add properties, create your bank accounts. And I'll give you a little bit of a back end information, which we didn't realize until recently. You can actually, although the platform or the website says you are limited to 2 bank accounts, you can actually add as many bank accounts as you like. But nice. You are limited to 2 bank accounts. And then first thing you do, again, create your account, add your properties. 1 or 2 of them, link your bank accounts or you can manually import your transactions, and just start to play around with the platform. It's super easy. You go to your classification page and start to classify your income and expenses. And if you like the overall flow of the platform, the premium membership will actually enhance the platform with classification rules, which are those automation rules, which automate your classification of income and expenses. Then you get the reporting at the end of the year, as well as you get the ability to use the deal analyzer as well as the rent estimator more than 3 times. Excellent. And that's a limitation that you have with the free platform. So and it's $24 a month for a premium if you wanted to go monthly, or $199 for the yearly. And that's pretty much it. There's no additional up charges or anything like that. And it's monthly, yearly subscription. And we are running a 50% discount right now. And it's the code's right at the top of the screen, so you can't miss it. But yeah, we're really looking to scale this and get in front of investors who are looking to find a little bit more of an easier, more simplified accounting software for themselves.
Love it. And I'll definitely be checking it out as well for my properties for easier accounting software, as I've been seeking that too. So thank you so much. Yeah.
If you want the bookkeeping, connect with us. We'll help you set up that bookkeeping meeting to get the integration going. It's really simple.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time, Daniel, walking us through an easier process that investors could use, both newbies as well as those more experienced, to onboard their properties onto a platform, simplify tax season, be able to leverage automation, and really excited to see what comes for the future for your company as well.
Thanks, Ariel. Appreciate your time.